Friends, picture this scenario that perhaps strikes too close to home. You've forgiven someone for the third time this year. Maybe it's a friend who constantly breaks promises, a family member who manipulates your kindness, or a colleague who takes credit for your work while offering hollow apologies. You pride yourself on being compassionate, on turning the other cheek, on being the bigger person. Yet something gnaws at you, a growing sense that your mercy isn't creating positive change, but enabling destructive patterns. We live in a culture that has weaponized compassion, where being merciful is always painted as virtuous and setting boundaries is often labeled as cruel or unforgiving. We're told that good people always forgive, that showing mercy is a sign of strength, that withholding forgiveness reveals weakness of character. But what happens when our mercy becomes a tool that others use to continue harming us and themselves? What happens when our compassion enables the very behavior we claim to oppose? This moral confusion isn't new. 2,000 years ago, philosophers grappled with the same questions about justice, mercy, and the delicate balance between compassion and wisdom. Marcus Aurelius, ruling an empire, faced daily decisions about when to show clemency and when to enforce consequences. Seneca, advising emperors, understood that unlimited mercy could be as destructive as unlimited cruelty. Here's the uncomfortable truth that our modern sensibilities resist. Mercy is not always virtuous, and there are times when withholding it becomes the most compassionate act we can perform, both for ourselves and for those who have wronged us. The Stoics understood something profound about human nature and moral behavior that our therapeutic culture often overlooks. They recognize that true compassion sometimes requires what appears to be harshness, and that unlimited forgiveness can become a form of moral cowardice disguised as virtue. Marcus Aurelius, writing in his Meditations while managing the complexities of imperial justice, captured this tension beautifully. Whenever you want to cheer yourself, consider the good qualities of your companions. But in the same work, he also wrote, "Be like the rocky headland on which the waves constantly break. It stands firm, and round it the seething waters are laid to rest." He understood that true strength sometimes means remaining unmoved by others' storms, including their pleas for unearned mercy. The key insight here is understanding what mercy actually accomplishes. True mercy serves justice by offering genuine redemption. It provides an opportunity for growth, learning, and genuine change. But false mercy, the kind that shields people from the natural consequences of their actions, serves neither justice nor compassion. It creates a moral hazard where harmful behavior is reinforced rather than corrected. Seneca, in his essay on mercy, makes a crucial distinction that we've largely forgotten. Mercy is restraint exercised by the mind when it has the power to take revenge. Notice what this definition requires: power. Mercy only exists when you have the authority and ability to enforce consequences, but choose not to. When you lack power, when you're simply accepting poor treatment because you feel you have no choice, that's not mercy, that's submission. Consider the parent who constantly rescues their adult child from the consequences of irresponsible decisions. They tell themselves they're being loving and merciful, but are they? Or are they preventing their child from learning essential life lessons about responsibility and consequences? The Stoics would argue that true love sometimes requires allowing people to face the full weight of their choices. Epictetus, who knew powerlessness intimately through his experience as a slave, understood that setting boundaries isn't about cruelty, it's about clarity. In his discourses, he teaches us that we must distinguish between what is ours to control and what belongs to others. When someone repeatedly violates our boundaries, our response is ours to control. Continuing to offer mercy to someone who shows no genuine remorse or effort to change isn't virtuous. It's a failure to exercise our responsibility to ourselves and to justice itself. The Stoic approach to mercy begins with a clear-eyed assessment of the situation. Ask yourself these questions. Has this person shown genuine remorse or merely regret at being caught? Are they taking concrete steps to change their behavior? Or simply offering words? Have they demonstrated respect for the mercy previously shown? Or have they treated it as weakness to be exploited? Marcus Aurelius provides us with a framework for this assessment. The best revenge is not to be like your enemy. This doesn't mean we should be doormats. It means we should act from our highest principles rather than from reactive emotion. Sometimes our highest principles demand that we withhold mercy, not out of spite, but out of a commitment to justice and genuine compassion. True wisdom lies in understanding that consequences are often mercy in disguise. When we allow someone to face the natural results of their actions, we're offering them the gift of reality, an opportunity to learn, grow, and change. When we shield them from these consequences, we're often stealing their chance for genuine transformation. Consider the practice of what Seneca called strict kindness. This means caring enough about someone's long-term well-being to allow short-term discomfort. The surgeon who causes pain to remove a tumor is practicing strict kindness. The teacher who fails a student who hasn't done the work is practicing strict kindness. The friend who refuses to enable destructive behavior is practicing strict kindness. But how do we distinguish between wisdom and hard-heartedness? The Stoics provide clear guidance here. The decision to withhold mercy should never come from anger, revenge, or personal satisfaction. It should come from a clear assessment of what will best serve justice and the highest good of all involved, including the person who has wronged us. Marcus Aurelius offers this test. In the morning when thou risest unwillingly, let this thought be present. I am rising to the work of a human being. Why then am I dissatisfied if I am going to do the things for which I exist and for which I was brought into the world? When withholding mercy, ask yourself, am I doing this because it serves the greater good or because it serves my ego? There's a profound difference between punishment and consequence. Punishment is what we do to people. Consequences are what naturally result from actions. The Stoic approach favors allowing natural consequences while avoiding the addition of punitive measures driven by emotion. When someone repeatedly breaks their word, the natural consequence is that others stop trusting them. When someone consistently disrespects boundaries, the natural consequence is that access to the relationship becomes limited or removed. The practice of prosos, continuous attention to our motivations and actions, becomes crucial here. We must constantly examine whether our decisions come from wisdom or from wounded pride, from compassion or from cowardice, from justice or from vengeance. Seneca reminds us that every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. Sometimes withholding mercy is how we end destructive patterns and create space for healthier dynamics to begin. The person who learns to respect boundaries because they've experienced the consequences of violating them has learned something valuable. The person who never experiences these consequences may never learn respect at all. This doesn't mean we become cold or unforgiving. The Stoic who withholds mercy can still maintain goodwill toward the other person. They can hope for their growth and transformation while refusing to enable their destruction. They can love someone while refusing to participate in their self-destructive patterns. The ultimate goal is what Epictetus called living according to nature, acting in alignment with reason, virtue, and the natural order of cause and effect. In nature, actions have consequences. Fire burns, gravity pulls, seeds grow. When we constantly intervene to prevent people from experiencing the natural consequences of their choices, we're working against the very forces that promote learning and growth. Consider the difference between these two responses to a friend who repeatedly cancels plans at the last minute. The false mercy response says, "It's okay. I understand you're busy," while internally building resentment. The true compassion response says, "I care about our friendship, but I'm not going to continue making plans that you consistently break. When you're ready to prioritize our friendship, let me know." One enables the destructive pattern. The other creates an opportunity for change. The person who has learned to withhold mercy when appropriate doesn't become harsh or unloving. They become more genuinely compassionate. They love others enough to allow them to face reality. They respect others enough to treat them as capable of learning and growing. They care enough about relationships to protect them from the poison of enabling and resentment. Marcus Aurelius understood that leadership often requires making unpopular decisions for the greater good. What brings no benefit to the hive can bring no benefit to the bee, he wrote. Sometimes what appears to be kindness to an individual actually harms the larger community or relationship. The parent who never disciplines their child, the manager who never enforces standards, the friend who never confronts destructive behavior, all are choosing short-term peace over long-term health. The practice of strategic mercy, knowing when to offer it and when to withhold it, requires the cultivation of what the Stoics called practical wisdom. This comes through experience, reflection, and a commitment to acting from principle rather than impulse. It means learning to tolerate others' disappointment in us when we choose what's right over what's popular. True power, fellow seekers of wisdom, lies not in the ability to forgive endlessly, but in the wisdom to know when forgiveness serves justice and when it serves destruction. It's the recognition that mercy without boundaries becomes enabling, that compassion without consequences becomes cruelty, and that love sometimes requires saying no. The person who has learned to withhold mercy when appropriate has learned one of life's most difficult lessons. That true compassion sometimes looks harsh from the outside, but serves the highest good for everyone involved. They understand that they can love someone while refusing to participate in their self-destruction, can care deeply while maintaining firm boundaries, can show goodwill while enforcing natural consequences. So I ask you, where in your life have you been offering mercy that enables rather than heals? What relationships would benefit from clearer boundaries and natural consequences? Are you ready to discover the compassionate power that comes from knowing when to offer mercy and when to withhold it? May the light of wisdom illuminate your inner citadel. Until next time.